Good day, everyone, and welcome to Home at the Hollow. My name is Glennis, and welcome to my very humble kitchen. I want to thank y'all so much for joining me today. Today's recipe is an apple cider donut-inspired loaf cake. Although this is definitely homemade from scratch, it is very, very easy and made exactly and mixed exactly like I did. The crumb on this is next day. The crumb on this came out beautifully. I hope that you give this a try and stick around to the end for a taste test. I'm going to cut this into this and have a little bit of a taste with my coffee this morning. And without further ado, apple cider donut inspired loaf cake. I'm starting with 1 cup of apple cider, and I just happen to have Granny Smith apple cider, and I'm going to bring this to a boil. Allow this to boil lightly for about 10 minutes or until it's about a half a cup. So you want to reduce this by half. So I think that I have roughly boiled this down by half, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it in a wee bit of a bowl here. Set this aside, and I'm going to allow this to cool off probably a good amount of time, half an hour or something like that. Once I feel it's cooling off, I've got I've got reduced fat sour cream. That's basically what I had in the fridge, so that's what I'm using, and a couple of teaspoons of vanilla extract. But I'm going to let this cool off for a little while. Mix these two very well together in here for our batter. So I'm going to get started on the batter. As you can see, my cider is still cooling, and I've got 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, lightly packed brown sugar, 2 well-beaten eggs, and I'm going to just mix this up very well. And that took all of a couple of minutes. I've got a half a cup of slightly melted butter. I think I'm going to have to stop and just go ahead and, salted, unsalted, whatever it is that you have is, I'm sure, totally fine. If it's salted, you might want to adjust the salt that is in this recipe a little bit. Make sure this is mixed smooth. And the one thing that you want to make sure when you're melting butter to put in a mixture like this is make sure that it's cooled slightly like mine was, because you don't want scrambled eggs in your apple cider loaf cake. And there we go. That's really, really pretty. I'm going to just make sure I don't have anything left. I think that's pretty good. And I do have a prepared pan here. I like to use my cast iron on loaves like this. They just bake up just incredibly. Very, very pretty. Just going to slide this over a little bit. I've got some all-purpose flour with a combination of leavening agents, nutmeg, cinnamon, salt, cornstarch, and y'all already know I will drop all of the measurements in the description box below. Just give this a whisk. Make sure there isn't anything unhappy. I've whisked both, and it looks pretty good. I do feel like this is cooled off enough for me to put my hand under. So what I have here is some sour cream and 2 teaspoons of vanilla, the very best vanilla that you can get your hands on. And I'm going to just give this and make sure that this is mixed very, very well before we start incorporating this into the batter. So I brought over my sour cream and apple cider mixture. And what I'm going to start with first is, let's see, a little bit of flour. I begin and end with my flour mixture. And the one thing you want to, of course, with muffins or any kind of a bread, a quick bread like this, is you want to make sure you don't overmix this. And add a little bit of my apple cider. A little bit more of my flour. And you always want to end with your flour. And I'm doing it in two big chunky ways, so you know that there isn't a lot of danger of overmixing this. Let's turn this like this and give my bowl a bit of a scrape. Make sure there's nothing left in here. Move this over a little bit more convenient for y'all. And that's looking pretty good. I can already see it starting to I guess what I want to call is take shape. It's already starting a good rise on it, a good leavening, and that's why I start with everything at room temperature, even my eggs. Eggs at room temperature are going to rise a little bit more. So very often you will see a basket of eggs sitting on my counter if I anticipate that I'm going to be baking. I absolutely will have these on the counter. I keep a cool house, and make sure this is, give it a good go. And let's see how this is going to move. I mean, once you start baking and baking quite a bit, you can feel the body of a batter, and this is perfect. I'm just going to take this, and if I can, I certainly don't want to miss any of this batter. And if I was more organized, I would have these ends clipped down properly. But you know, I get kind of ahead of myself. I think a lot of us do from time to time. Get a little bit ahead, but it's okay. It's just paper and batter, y'all. There we are. I'm going to bake this at 325, and yes, that is a low temperature. As I was saying, that is a low temperature, but I'm going to 325. I'm going to start checking it at about 50 minutes. Now, you know, if your pan size is a little bit larger than mine, then yours won't take as long. And, you know, it's really dependent on ovens and pan sizes and things like that. But 325, I'll start checking at 50 minutes, but more than likely it's going to be 55 minutes to an hour. My bread baked perfectly at 50 minutes. And again, it depends on your oven, you know, the size of your pans, and a lot of different things, but mine came out just so nicely. It's still slightly warm. What I have here are about 4 tablespoons of butter, whatever kind of butter you have. And I am going to just drizzle some of it on the top here. And I have a combination here of granulated sugar, about 1/4 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar to a healthy 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. I've got that side done. I'm going to brush butter along the side here. And, excuse me for turning this, but I'm just going to take some in my hand and rub it along the sides. And I'm going to do all of the sides, whoops, all of the sides like that. And just give it a good, rub. A while back being a very long time ago, I had a recipe. I probably still have it in there somewhere, where I would make small muffins. Similar, kind of similar to this, except towards the end, after they were baked, after they were baked, I would, this is a bonus. Wow, okay, I'm going to be clumsy today. And just do the sides. And put as much or as little sugar mixture as you want to on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this and set this aside, because it's relatively cooled off, and just give it a rub. And yes, I'm going to let this sit in this mixture. It's, totally cool. And there we go. I'm going to allow this to finish cooling off. And we'll have a little bit of a slice in just a moment. So I have cut my piece of apple cider donut inspired cake, and this came out so pretty. I'm going to try to pick this up. My camera angle is just not the very best, sorry, but pick this up. I mean, it's moist. It's so moist, y'all. And I'm just going to break it apart just like that. It breaks apart just that easy. And now I had a piece last night after dinner, and I had, a wee bit of a bite that kind of fell off the edge of it after it was baked. And I have to tell y'all, it actually tastes better and the flavor develops a little bit more as the day carries on. So I had, a piece last night, and it tasted so good. So I'm sure that breakfast this morning is going to be even better. It's an easy recipe using the flavors of the season. I hope that y'all will give this a try. And I want to thank you for joining me here home at the Hollow. Goodbye, y'all.